Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefton, studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, where you can also find us in the Birmingham Bloomfield area on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and on City Cable 15 of Southfield. Join us live on Channel 10 in Waterford every day on the Media Network of Waterford and live to tape on Channel 10 in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Orion Neighborhood Television or ONTV. You can also find us on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on the Biff Radio Network, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. Find us also online on our Facebook pages at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, on our website at civiccentertv.com, and beginning at 11 o'clock, on My Michigan TV or MyMy at mymytv.com, where you can also learn more about downloading their free MyMyTV apps for your smartphone and smart TVs. All that information is on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you can also find all of our programs on demand, as well as each individual interview from our program as well. Then let's head over to our coronavirus page, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where we have links to the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 from reliable expert resources at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, so that you can stay up to date on everything that you need to know about the spread of COVID-19, precautionary tactics such as masking, as well as vaccinations and booster shots. Also on our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, we feature articles from many journalistic outlets throughout the state of Michigan in order to keep you updated on COVID-19 and other stories making headlines here in the Great Lakes State. Our top story today from Bridge, Michigan is their coronavirus tracker. COVID hospitalizations have risen for the first time since January. The number of hospitalized patients in Michigan with confirmed or suspected COVID-19 rose Monday for the first time since mid-January, with 497 now being treated statewide. It's a small increase of just 24 since Friday, but represents the first increase since the state reported a far higher number, 4,918 patients during a viral surge on January 14th. Increases in hospitalizations were reported in Monday in 6 of the state's 8 quote-unquote emergency preparedness regions, although the rise in 2 of these regions, northern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula, were by a single patient each. Patient counts in southwest Michigan increased from 66 to 77, in central Michigan from 32 to 42, in eastern central Michigan, which includes the Thumb and Lake Huron shorelines, from 34 to 41, and in western Michigan from 40 to 46. Combined, the 2 regions in Metro Detroit fell by 12, from 265 to 253 COVID-19 patients. Overall, the rate of new COVID infections has remained low for over a week, though the percentage of recorded coronavirus tests coming back positive has risen in the past 2 weeks. More COVID-19 information from the state will be available Wednesday when the latest data comes out. Just this week, Michigan switched from thrice weekly postings of COVID-19 cases, deaths, and testing to release the data only once per week. That data will now come out on Wednesdays. In other COVID-19 news, Michiganders on Medicare Part B, which covers medical costs, can now get up to 8 free at-home tests for COVID-19 each month at participating pharmacies, including Michigan's 260 Rite Aid locations, as well as participating CVS, Walgreens, Kroger, and Costco pharmacies. Beneficiaries should bring their Medicare card. The free tests add to an ongoing effort by the Biden administration to make testing easily available as a way to track and stop the spread of COVID-19. Michiganders can also still receive free at-home COVID tests at 70 Michigan libraries. Testing remains free at sites throughout the state as well. That full article from Bridge, Michigan on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Also making headlines there from the Detroit News. The Great Lakes Water Authority has made a power switch at 2 Detroit pump stations in anticipation for spring storm season. 2 pump stations on Detroit's east side are now using power supplied by DTE Energy after spotty service from Detroit's Public Lighting Department contributed to flooding in the area after a storm last June, according to the Great Lakes Water Authority's announcement on Tuesday. Both the Freud and Blue Hill pump stations are now using power from the region's largest electrical utility. 2 others on Detroit's west side will be switched to DTE this spring, possibly by July, said Navid Maram, Chief Operating Officer of the Great Lakes Water Authority, a regional organization that handles water and sewer services for 88 communities. Gliwa interim CEO Suzanne Coffey also showed off 3 new transformers at the Tuesday press conference at the Freud pump station. Quote, "What this does is to make sure that we have good, reliable power to pump as much as we can," Coffey said, continuing on. "I will tell you the limitation in the system is the pipes. That's why it's such a big problem," and closed quote. Wayne County experienced widespread flooding after a June 24th storm last year from Detroit and the Grosse Pointes on the east side to Dearborn and the west side of Detroit. Homeowners who were flooded have sued Gliwa. Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer declared a state of emergency in response as well. Mayrum explained the transformers powered the pump stations inside the stations. During the June 2021 storm, unreliable power, quote, limited the pumps that were available to us, and closed quote, Mayrum said. Each of the 3 transformers can now support 3 pumps or a total of 9 pumps. There are 8 pumps inside Freud, meaning there is more power capacity than pumps that are available. During the conversion effort, Gliwa did tests on all of their electrical equipment that supports, this is in a quotation. During the conversion effort, Gliwa did tests on all of our electrical equipment that supports the pumps, and through all the testing through all that, testing turned out good, Mayrum said, continuing on saying, quote, "It showed that all of our equipment is functioning well and is ready for the spring storm season," and closed quote. In addition to the 3 transformers at Freud, 2 at Blue Hill Pump Station are now also on DTE Energy Power. Power quality monitoring has been installed also at the Freud, Blue Hill, and Connor Creek pump stations, allowing the system to monitor in real time the strength of the electrical connection powering those facilities, authorities have said. Coffey said the system's design hasn't changed from last year. It can still process about 1.7 inches of water per hour. Quote, "But what more commonly occurs is rain over the course of a day," Coffey said. The system can process about 3.3 inches of rain in 24 hours, she added. Quote, "When you see us notify communities or people about the fact that we're concerned about rain, it's because we're seeing a forecast that is more than, say, 3.5 inches per day," Coffey said. The addition of DTE service and the transformers will help the system reach that capacity rather than fall short of that capacity, she said. Coffey said Gliwa's final report on what led to the widespread flooding over last year's storm season is expected to be released later this month. Lastly, making headlines at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus from the Detroit Free Press. 3 Wayne County bridges will be replaced as part of a Michigan repair program. Here's where they are. 78 locally owned bridges are being repaired, replaced, or removed as part of the State Transportation Department's new bridge building program, intended to save money and improve conditions. The work began last month and is expected to continue through the end of the 2024 construction season. 3 bridges in Wayne County are part of the project: Miller Road, Rotunda Drive, and Stryker Road. All will be replaced. Locally owned bridges belong to places like counties and cities rather than the state. You can find bridges near you that are being repaired in a link that's in this article posted on our website as well. Federal regulations require inspections at least once every 2 years of all bridges longer than 20 feet on public roads, and more frequently for seriously deteriorating bridges. Among the 1,029 state and locally owned bridges in Wayne County, 38% are in good condition, 50% are in fair condition, and 12% are rated in poor condition. Michigan ranks 9th among states for its percentage, 11%, of bridges in poor conditions, according to the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration data. Nationwide, about 7% of bridges are in poor condition. Quote, "We are addressing poor bridges as best as we can," said Matt Chenoweth, director of MDOT's bridge program. He continued on saying, quote, "But we have fewer bridges in good condition and a large backlog of bridges in fair condition that could be 1 or 2 inspection cycles away from transitioning to poor." All of those headlines on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, as well as those ever helpful links to accurate information on COVID-19 from the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great program ahead on this Wednesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. In just a few minutes, we'll speak with West Bloomfield Township Supervisor Steve Kaplan, followed by Livonia City Attorney and a local playwright, Eric Goldstein. That's all coming up next. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
if you're struggling financially due to a crime.
We're here
For you. Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation. Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners, working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
my son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sophia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question?
Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy.
Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com, clicking on our Megacast link, or just typing in civiccentertv.com/Megacast, where you'll learn more information about our entire network of stations, including TV and radio stations all throughout the Oakland County area. Joining us now is the West Bloomfield Township Supervisor, Steve Kaplan, back with us once again on the Oakland County Megacast. Steve, thank you for being here.
Hello, Tyler. Nice to see you. You and your colleagues perform great services for our community.
Appreciate your kind words, Steve. Let's talk about an exciting upcoming event for 4 communities in Oakland County, for what are known as the Greater West Bloomfield communities, West Bloomfield Township, but also the Tri-Cities of Orchard Lake, Keego Harbor, and Sylvan Lake. That's coming up this weekend. Can you tell us about that event, what goes on at the Household Hazardous Waste event in West Bloomfield, and give us a little bit of an origin story behind this event in West Bloomfield?
This is our 14th year providing household hazardous waste services to our community. And the community, as you mentioned, includes Keego Harbor, Orchard Lake, Sylvan Lake, and West Bloomfield. As you know, West Bloomfield residents tend to be much more environmentally sensitive and pro-environment than residents from other communities. And there was an outcry in around 2007, what do we do with our hazardous materials, our computers, our televisions, chemicals, paint, old medicine? What do? We don't want to place them in landfills. Sure. Well, the township board then, about 14, 15 years ago, devised the annual Household Hazardous Day event, but now it's not annual, it's twice per year. And it's timely that you and I are chatting because our first one for 2022 will be this Saturday between 9 and noon at Town Hall. And also seniors that's age 62 or older can visit here both Saturday 9 to noon, Tyler, and Friday from 4 to 6.
And so what are some of the different household items that are accepted? There are a number of different vendors that are at this event at West Bloomfield Town Hall that are able to collect and recycle or dispose safely of a number of different materials. What are some of the highlights of those?
Important to note, if I may, that we also have shredding services twice per year. As you know, originally and for 10 years, shredding services and household hazardous waste disposals would take place on the same day and same time. But now we've segregated the events. But in terms of items that the township accepts during the HHW event are paint, gas, oil, pesticides, fertilizer, fire extinguishers, insecticides, nail polish, smoke detectors, solvents, varnish, thermometers, light bulbs, batteries, kerosene, and some other items. Also electrical items, which would include cell phones, cable boxes, computers, DVD machines, VCR machines, printers, stereos, scanners, televisions, fax machines, laptops, and gaming units.
And so, Steve, how did these different materials, how these vendors, better yet, that you're bringing in to dispose of these materials, how has the township gone about not only vetting these different organizations to make sure that they are capable of disposing of these items safely, but ultimately to build those partnerships to be able to have these different vendors provide these services to 4 communities on a twice annual basis?
There's a company in Livonia called U.S. Environmental, and U.S. Environmental provides the staffing. I want to talk to you about volunteers in a moment, but the staffing. So when Tyler drives in his vehicle, he ends up in an area for disposal, and there are individuals who are unloading these items from your car. You don't have to remove them. It's done by the staff for U.S. Environmental. The company is extremely reliable, and a concern of everybody is are these items really being handled properly, or are they going to end up in somebody's landfill? Because if they're in a landfill, why are we taking the time to deliver them to the township? So this company has had high ratings. Also, volunteers. We have approximately 14 of our employees on Saturday will be volunteering. Well, it's not pure volunteerism because they can receive a comp day, but they will be outside helping direct traffic, giving information to the motorists who are visiting HHW Day.
More information on the West Bloomfield Township website, wbtownship.org. We're joined by Steve Kaplan, West Bloomfield Township Supervisor, with us on the Oakland County Megacast. We've gone over some items that are accepted. Are there any items that are not accepted at the household hazardous waste events?
Yes, good question. Air conditioners, ammunition, tires, car parts, helium tanks, hot water tanks, construction materials, plastic shopping bags, and styrofoam. Now, we'll take medicine, but not controlled substances like Xanax and Valium, but those items are taken by our police department 24 hours per day. Now, you might wonder, and I know you're always a step ahead of me, Tyler, which is not difficult, but what about these items that you don't take? What happens to them? If you go to our website under how to recycle solid waste, different agencies' names are there, different dump sites where you can take these items. Tires are always difficult for people because who wants to have old tires laying around the garage? Our experience is that if you have a relationship with Bell Tire or Firestone or some other tire company, that company might take the old tires off your hands.
So this year's event has actually been expanded. In the past, it's only been a select couple of communities in the greater West Bloomfield area. Now it includes all 4 of the quote-unquote greater West Bloomfield communities: West Bloomfield, Keegle Harbor, Orchard Lake Village, and Sylvan Lake. Where did that expansion come into play? Was that always there, or has this event expanded from just West Bloomfield Township out to neighboring communities over the years?
Good question. Initially, it was West Bloomfield, but Orchard Lake, Sylvan Lake, and Keegle Harbor inquired, what about us? We're part of the community, and they are. So they pay us, I think it's $56 per vehicle. And so it's not free to those residents. It's absorbed through the general fund at Keegle Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and Orchard Lake.
The household hazardous waste drop-off Saturday, 9 a.m. until noon at West Bloomfield Town Hall on Walnut Lake Road in West Bloomfield Township. Again, Saturday, April 9th, 9 a.m. until 12 noon is the household hazardous waste drop-off. Seniors have their drop-off day also available on Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's April 8th, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. for seniors, or they can go during the general hours on Saturday, April 9th, 9 a.m. until 12 noon. More information on the West Bloomfield Township website, wbtownship.org. We're joined by West Bloomfield Township Supervisor Steve Kaplan with us on the Oakland County Megacast. And while we're talking about environmental issues, there was a bit of controversy that popped up in the news recently here in West Bloomfield Township in regards to a development through Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital. An ongoing battle now between an environmentalist group in West Bloomfield that's now speaking out about their opposition to this particular development. It went through all of its basic legal proceedings within the township, within the Planning Commission and the Environmental Commission. It was ultimately passed and cleared to begin. Do you care to give your thoughts on that situation and what the township is looking to do, particularly the elected officials, to prevent this kind of a back and forth after the fact in future cases?
Well, I think everybody in the township agrees we need a behavioral health hospital. So those residents who are irate over the number of trees being removed in Henry Ford Hospital, they're not saying you don't need that behavioral health hospital. So that's a given. So what occurred, it was like the perfect storm. For one, the Planning Commission, interestingly, or maybe not interestingly, is the body that makes the decision on this land site use. The Township Board does not ratify or verify or affirm what the Planning Commission has decided. it might be, and one can't say what would have happened, but it might be that had the township board received an appeal or had the right to review or under the law made the ultimate decision itself, you would have had more trees saved. And I know how avid, fervent, ardent our residents are. They like the environment. Some people move here because of the environment. And their position that more trees are being removed than might be necessary has good merit. And perhaps law needs to be changed where on issues involving site plans, land use, that the township makes the final decision, or that the township automatically reviews it, and that's not the case here. So there might have been a different outcome. Certainly doesn't help people or satisfy people who are dissatisfied with the number of trees being removed at Henry Ford Hospital.
And just for clarification for those out in the community that are following along with this story, is there anything that can be done at the township level at this point to modify those plans, short of any back and forth discussions with the planners themselves through Henry Ford Health?
When the Planning Commission reached its decision, anyone in the community other than an elected township board member could have appealed. Nobody appealed to the township board. And as I said, who knows what the outcome would have been. But also, it's not well known among the community, and unless you're watching the Planning Commission meetings, you might not have known about the outcome. Well, therefore, you've asked what can be done now. We did meet with Henry Ford Hospital leaders, and they did make some concessions. Earlier on, they agreed to limit the building from 3 stories to 2 stories. Also, they have set aside 15.7 acres of trees permanently in a conservation document. And also, so we said to them, we're not happy with the outcome here. And although you have a finding by the Planning Commission, which we cannot reverse, what can you do? What they agreed to do, and again, it doesn't save any trees, is they're spending $800,000, Tyler, to have the behavioral hospital brought up to the highest certification in terms of environment and LEED standards with a green roof. So that doesn't replace trees, but at least they made some efforts to not alleviate, but to show good faith to the community. And the only thing that could have happened here now, Tyler, is if the hospital on its own decided to reconfigure the project and save more trees. And we've encouraged them to do that, but I'm not hopeful.
More information on these Planning Commission and Environmental Commission meetings that went over this particular case that's been in the news of late is on wbtownship.org. We can read all the minutes, all the agendas, all the agenda packets for each and every one of these cases. You can also watch all these meetings on demand at civiccentertv.com, where our posts of these meetings will also have a link to the agendas, so you can go over more information about the cases as well. We're joined by Steve Kaplan, West Bloomfield Township Supervisor on the Oakland County Megacast. Steve, a few more minutes with you today. Exciting news as we head into the warmer season, that an event that's pretty well appreciated in West Bloomfield Township, particularly those that are frequenting Town Hall, is Food Truck Tuesdays. That is back coming up. Can you tell us about Food Truck Tuesdays and who can participate?
Yeah, so the Township Board realized maybe 5 years ago it would be a nice way to enhance the community by having food trucks. People like food trucks. And we have food trucks now every other Tuesday at Town Hall between 11:30 and 1:30. And the trucks are parked near the Library and Parks Commission building. And different vendors are involved. We have one vendor per event, but sometimes there's an ice cream truck stops by too. Everybody loves ice cream trucks.
We're joined by Steve Kaplan, West Bloomfield Township Supervisor. More information on Food Truck Tuesdays in a couple places, wbtownship.org or wbparks.org, the two organizations. Parks, it's separate organization, and the West Bloomfield Township partner on Food Truck Tuesdays. More information on their websites, wbtownship.org and wbparks.org. Steve, any other upcoming events or things in the township that our audience should be keeping an eye out for?
Yes, we are sponsoring a Get Rid of the Garbage Day on a Saturday. Township employees are volunteering, and no comp time, and maybe some residents in the community to remove the rubbish from the sides of the roads, the main streets. It's terrible. Who's responsible? The road commission is responsible for maintaining roads, but they have insufficient funding and staff to pick up garbage from the roads. Unfortunately, some people litter. You don't, I don't, but some people even throw bags of garbage out the window. It's particularly bad on Drake Road, on 14 Mile, and 15 and Maple Road. So it's on our website. I don't have the exact date, or just call Town Hall. But if you want to contribute to cleaning up the community, making those roads look better, which we all deserve because we are an environmentally sensitive community, give us a call. Maybe you can join us for a few hours to help remove the garbage.
Keep up to date on that effort and more at wbtownship.org. Steve, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Tyler. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you as well. We've been joined by West Bloomfield Township Supervisor Steve Kaplan on the Oakland County Megacast. Again, their website, wbtownship.org, to keep up with everything that's going on at West Bloomfield Town Hall. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll be joined by Livonia City Attorney, who's also a playwright and been on the program multiple times. Eric Goldstein joins us next. You are watching and listening to the Oakland County Megacast.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
We've spoken to him multiple times before, and in April, it'll be the 2-year anniversary of his diagnosis with glioblastoma. We've previously talked to him about some of his playwriting, which he's written stage plays about his experience with his diagnosis and some of the lessons he's learned throughout his battle with glioblastoma. Joining us once again on the Oakland County Megacast is Eric Goldstein. Eric, thank you for being with us once again.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you with us. It's been months since we've last had you in touch. How have you been holding up? How are you doing at this time?
I'm having a good day and I'm having a good month, so I'll take it.
All right, and so for those that may not have seen your earlier appearances, can you tell our audience just what glioblastoma is?
Glioblastoma is a type of brain cancer. It's one of the most aggressive types of brain cancer there is. If you're old enough to remember the Looney Tunes cartoons, it is the Tasmanian devil of brain tumors, if you will. We manage it very, very delicately and thoroughly. And quite frankly, my being here today is an evidence of beating the odds. Life expectancy is very short for this type of cancer.
Can you talk about the various survival rates for those with glioblastoma and how that changes as each year passes?
Right. There's these global statistical studies about overall survivability, and I don't have them memorized, but the basic idea is just about half of the people who are diagnosed with this die within a year, and about 70 to 80% die within 2 years. Once you get to the 3-year mark, the proportion of that original group that lives through a given year starts to increase as compared to those who die. So I'm looking forward to getting to that 3-year mark. That's my optimism and that's my hope. And that's when the odds start to maybe become less severe. But at the end of 5 years, generally speaking, about 5 to 6% of those who got it are still alive.
We're joined by Eric Goldstein, who is a playwright, also an attorney with the city of Livonia, and we've had him on previously talking about his battle with glioblastoma, which he's written plays about his journey and about how it's changed his perspective on living, even with a disease that for many has been deadly. One of the more important parts of your treatment has been Optune. Can you tell us about that particular treatment and what that has done for you?
I'd be happy to. The Optune device, I'm not actually wearing it at the moment. We have to give my skin a break every few days to let it recover. You can see some red marks on my head. It is affixed to my head with these giant Band-Aid-like things, and it projects an electric signal, an oscillating electric signal into the brain. It's called a tumor treatment field. And what that does is if it captures a tumor cell within the field, it'll prevent the tumor cell from dividing so that one cell doesn't become two, and that's basically how the tumors grow. If we're really lucky, it might even kill the cell that's trying to divide. So this is a non-invasive treatment. It does not involve taking chemo medication. You don't have the side effects of chemo. It's not radiation. All it is an electric field, and you just have to wear it all the time, except for giving your skin a break, which we're doing right now. It's just bad timing for you not to be able to see it, but good timing for my skin to recover.
Yes, good timing for your skin, definitely, and it's doing great work when it is on your head. Is this something that's relatively common in the treatment of glioblastoma, or is the use of this Optune device something relatively new or experimental?
It's not experimental. It was approved for this specific treatment by the FDA, I believe 8 or 9 years ago. It's expanding its use. They're expanding its use into other forms of cancer as the science evolves and demonstrates that it's possible. I'm not a full expert on it, but I understand they're looking into mesothelioma, a type of lung cancer that involves asbestos exposure. I believe they're using it with uterine cancer, but I don't know if those are at the stages of being FDA approved or if it's still experimental. With the glioblastoma brain cancer, it has been shown to make a statistical improvement, that you get a bump in your overall survivability. It almost doubles your chances of making it 5 years.
And so how long have you been using the Optune device?
We started using it in July of 2020.
Okay, so shortly after you were diagnosed.
Right. We discovered there was a tumor in April. We rushed to surgery, overcoming COVID obstacles, which was very challenging, and got the surgery, and they pulled the tumor out. They did a pathology and discovered it was a glioblastoma tumor. They set me up for radiation and chemotherapy. And then when I had sufficiently recovered from that initial course, we started the Optune. And that was by July.
Just how common, to your knowledge and from your discussion with doctors, if this has come up, how common of a treatment is Optune? Because you started on it a couple of years ago. I'm not sure when it was introduced after approval from the FDA for treatment of glioblastoma, but if it was only just a few years ago, it would still be a relatively new treatment. How common is this in treating glioblastoma?
I expect it is increasingly common and routine for glioblastoma patients for whom it makes sense. There are like large metropolitan centers where there's big hospital systems with specialized cancer treatment programs. They're going to be strong advocates for using Optune. If you're living out in the country or in less developed metropolitan areas where the hospital is more equipped to dealing with non-oncology issues, non-cancer issues, there's going to be less familiarity with Optune. And even if the hospital system just has a general oncologist, not one specializing in brain cancer, it may not be on their radar. And if it is, they might even be skeptical of it.
We're joined by Eric Goldstein. He is an attorney with the city of Livonia, also a playwright. We've talked to him previously about a web production he did of one of his plays, Here We Go, in September of 2021. So when we talked to you then, you were in the middle of the production of that play. It was being done virtually because at the time we were still dealing with COVID-19 cases. For those that were not tuned in that day or have not heard of Here We Go, can you give them a little bit of an overview of that production, of that story, and what your inspiration was behind producing that?
Here We Go was prompted by a desire to tell the story of having a regular life, being struck by cancer, this lightning strike, and then finding a way forward and making the observation that I'm not different from other people. I just have a heads up that I'm going to be dying sooner than later, and how that affects me. You might think it's a morbid, sad story, but it's really not. It's a story about universals, about the meaning of life and what makes a life like a joyous thing. I put us in the context of history, you know, and our ancestors and our kids to come after us, and I also have in it a very uplifting ending. What I'd like to say more about is the feedback I've gotten from people who've watched Here We Go. It's on YouTube for free. Glioblastoma patients from around the world have contacted me and told me how grateful they were to see me wearing the Optune device, and that they felt less isolated. And it gave them the vocabulary to talk about things they needed to talk about but didn't know how to. But more importantly, for me, people without glioblastoma, people just having struggles in their lives, found this to be an inspirational story. It gave them hope. It gave them strength to persevere and overcome their challenges. And that was very fulfilling and satisfying for me to know that just telling my story was helpful to other people.
We're joined by Eric Goldstein on the Oakland County Megacast, playwright who wrote Here We Go, and that began to be shown in September of 2021. We've talked to him previously. We're catching up with him now. Lately, you've been spending these days with others who have been diagnosed with glioblastoma and helping them along their journey. Where did that start, and what sort of new inspiration have you taken from your experience consulting with them on their journey and tailoring in your experience over these past 2 years battling glioblastoma?
Well, I've found a number of there are, you know, this is COVID, so it's not like there's a club or you can go to a support group that's tailored to glioblastoma. But online, I have found a listserv. I have found a number of closed Facebook groups. Closed by meaning you have to apply or be invited in because you qualify. There's glioblastoma Facebook groups. There's the Optune users Facebook group. There's a caregivers Facebook group I just learned about the other day. I have been an active participant in a number of these groups as we try to all help each other. It's not like I'm a savior or anything. We are all just peers dealing with similar things and trying to help each other and problem solve and troubleshoot. Have I answered your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. We're joined by Eric Goldstein. He is a playwright, also a city attorney with the city of Livonia, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. So at this time, Here We Go has been showing for about 6 months since its premiere on YouTube. And any other works that you're doing in theater at this time, or any other writing that of projects that you're working on that we should be on the lookout for?
Well, we are. I finished directing a play, and it ran just a few months ago with the Rosedale Community Players. We had started it before COVID and before the cancer, and then as the situation lightened up, I think it was last September or so that we retook the rehearsal stage and we performed it. That was a lot of fun through the Rosedale Community Players in Southfield, Michigan. No, I'm on the outlook for interesting and good projects. You know, I've got a few things in the works, but you know, nothing that I'd like to tell you to be on the lookout for. It's, I think, too soon for that.
For you, has having the opportunity to be back out there and potentially go back to in-person theater or more regular interaction with the theater as you were able to do pre-pandemic and of course pre-diagnosis. How does that help you in your personal recovery journey, going back and having that opportunity potentially to do something that you've enjoyed for a long time, that you also tailored into your initial recovery from glioblastoma?
Well, one of the problems a lot of glioblastoma patients, particularly those who wear the Optune device, which is a very conspicuous thing.
Sure.
It brands you as being other, on appearance. Many of us don't want to be others. We don't want to be the stranger or the weirdo. We are still who we are. We're just dealing with a particular form of cancer, but we're still the same people we were beforehand. And what getting out and living my life as best as I can pushes back against that feeling of being other. But at the same time, if I can just segue to the other side of that coin,
sure.
it can be often very discouraging, recognizing that you're suffering from a life-shortening condition for which there's no cure. I mean, that's why I go in to get an MRI every 60 days. I mean, as great as Optune is, it's not perfect. And so we want to catch the signs of tumor growth as quickly as we can. And it makes no sense to go get an MRI every day. So somebody smart figured out 60 days is the right ratio on some cost-benefit analysis. We do that because we want to catch the tumor if it starts to grow again. And the specter of living like that, like if you're old enough, you remember Tarzan, who would swing from vine to vine to vine. We're swinging from MRI to MRI to MRI, and it took me months to get past the idea that I can think beyond 60 days. For a while, I didn't think beyond 60 days, but now I do, with hope and optimism and Optune. Yay, Optune. But during it's very, some people would say, well, then live your life to the fullest, live every day to get the most out of it. And, I disagree. That would be very exhausting, very exhausting. I would rather have a normal life than a life filled with sprinting adventures every day. So how do you find a path or a metric that tells you what's a good day in this? And I would say, with glioblastoma, and I'd say it would be the same kind of metrics to define what would be a good day regularly. And that's a personal choice. But for me, I've kind of narrowed it down to three things. If at the end of the day, I can say yes to just one of these three questions, then it's a good day. And I think anyone can use these three questions. It doesn't have to be a cancer patient. Have I been useful? Have I been creative? Have I learned something? If you can say yes to just one of those things, then you had a good day. And if you have good day after good day after good day, that's what you can call a meaningful life.
Eric, thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
But we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
the leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking. Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Welcome to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You're watching and listening to us on your radio homes for the Megacast 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire station, entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV, otherwise known as MyTV.com, also civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now is Luke Lando, who has been serving the Hazel Park community on their city council since 2021 and is now with us on the Michigan Megacast. Luke, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Tyler. Appreciate it.
Appreciate having you on. So first, tell us a little bit about your background and what ultimately brought you to Hazel Park.
My background is I'm from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, lived there for most of my life, and then slowly started moving farther and farther south. I graduated from college in Northern Michigan University, and then I moved to Traverse City to work for a United States congressman. And then after he retired, I came down to the Hazel Park area to pursue law school, which never ended up happening. And to be closer to my wife's family. We settled in Hazel Park because it was just a great location, inexpensive housing, and solid amenities, and ended up being here for a few years before there was a vacancy on city council, and I applied and was lucky enough to be appointed, and in November I was elected to a full 4-year term.
So what inspired you to seek that appointment and later seek a full term in the election?
Yeah, so they had the appointment available. I had previous experience sort of in government. You know, I worked for a congressman. I worked for the Michigan Department of Attorney General before exiting politics in 2018. But I always felt that pull and that call to public service. And once the appointment came, I thought it would be a really unique opportunity to serve the town that I was, so happy to be a resident of. And I think that by and large, youth. I mean, I'm not super young, but by terms of politics, I'm the youngest person on council. I think it's important to participate if you have the means, time, and ability. And so I applied and received an appointment for a very partial term. I think it was like a 10 month term. So the expectation for me was that, I would be seeking a full 4-year term on council, which I was lucky enough to win.
We're joined by Luke Lando, Hazel Park City Council member, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Recently, Hazel Park became the third city in the state of Michigan to decriminalize psychedelic plants and psilocybin mushrooms. As advocates across the state are collecting signatures to put forth a ballot initiative to decriminalize these substances statewide in an upcoming election. Can you talk about your experience, because you had a particularly unique point of view going into this discussion internally with the city council and externally throughout the city in Hazel Park. Can you talk about your psychedelic plant and psilocybin mushroom experience and how those have helped you personally and helped you to frame your opinion and your stance on decriminalization in Hazel Park?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm a consumer as well as a proponent. I've been, consuming psilocybin since probably 2008. I have depression. I suffer from acute anxiety, and I know I'm not unique in that. And while I'm grateful for medication to assist, there's really psilocybin is an extremely therapeutic substance, especially when it comes to people with depression and anxiety. It's used to treat people with addiction. It's used to treat people with PTSD. And I found in my own experience that it was extremely beneficial to just sort of allow me to reframe and sort of recalibrate myself, every year. And having that experience has been extremely beneficial to me. And I think that, for far too long, we've had this stigmatization when it comes to, psilocybin, and even previously with marijuana, which, is now it's just very, very normal and it's been normalized. So I think making sure that people have the opportunity to utilize these therapeutic plants is important, as well as, educating the public on its benefits. So very, very proud to have the position and the ability to help pass something like this. As well as to be able to speak to it, not just as a proponent, but as an elected official, to try to remove some of that stigma and normalize it as much as possible.
Yeah, so let's take a moment and try to remove some of that stigma or give some insight into proper usage of these substances. Because like anything, like any drug, like alcohol, there are ways that you can use them that are safe and that are effective for yourself or with others, and then there are ineffective ways that are dangerous to yourself and dangerous to your community. When people think about psychedelic substances like mushrooms or like psilocybin, they're often thinking about the extreme, these long-standing psychedelic trips, an out-of-body experience, so to speak, that may, in some cases, for some people, facilitate in different ways, and sometimes those can be dangerous or those can be violent. But there are therapeutic elements to the use of these substances as well. Can you speak to that experience that you've had using these substances and how it varies quite significantly, I would imagine, from that stereotypical approach that people often can take to viewing the use of psychedelic substances?
Absolutely. We've all seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. We've all seen the Cirque du Soleil scene and Knocked Up. Yes, and that exists, and that's what we call a hero dose, where you're abusing the substance when you consume it that way. And it's no different than any other medicine. When you consume way too high of a dose, at that point it's borderline recreational. And that's not what we're talking about. When you use psilocybin or other substances under the entheogenic sort of family, there are safe ways to do it that allows you to access a medical benefit. And that's a bit what we call microdosing, where you do consume a very, very small substance so that you get the therapeutic effects without, tripping or, what we commonly see depicted in movies and media. And it's just like reefer madness. I think a lot of what the opposition will try to do is just really advertise the extreme and the fringe element of these things. And we've all seen the medicinal effects when it comes to proper marijuana usage, and that involves moderation. And we see the same thing with entheogenics, where if you want to receive the medical benefit of it, you need to consume it in a therapeutic way, and that involves small, safe dosages that allow you to manage yourself.
On the topic of recreational uses of substances, there's been some controversy over a proposed event, Spark in the Park, which would be a recreational marijuana festival in Hazel Park. If it's approved, it would take place on June 18th and 19th in the Green Acres Park in Hazel Park. Could draw up to an expected 4,200 people. Some residents, especially parents, have expressed concerns about having an event like this in a park in the Hazel Park community. Can you, A, give us your thoughts on that event taking place, and also address the concerns of your constituents there in Hazel Park toward this proposed event?
Absolutely. A lot of valid concerns, too. For the listeners at home, Green Acres Park sort of exists on the border of Hazel Park and Ferndale, and it's largely surrounded by a predominantly residential area. So I think the concerns that I've received haven't been with the substance or spirit of marijuana consumption. We're a city with several dispensaries and decriminalized entheogenics, so obviously we're a little bit more progressive in that respect. But when you're throwing an event with 4,200 people in a residential area, there's a lot of very legitimate parking, noise, odor, making sure that the organization is coming in and benefiting the community, making sure that local residents are able to take part, whether it be through food trucks or other things. So a lot of very valid concerns, but also the Spark in the Park organizers have been extremely responsive to council. They've addressed us at, I think, the last 2 meetings. Any outstanding questions they've taken back to us. There's really a willingness to work with us. And also, these licenses for large public consumption events are not only expensive, but they're difficult to obtain. And, we're just grateful to be considered, but we really need to be careful about how we're doing it, especially on a weekend, heading into a Sunday night event where, a lot of the people in that area do have work the next day. So just making sure that they're balancing the need to promote Hazel Park, but also making sure that our residents are satisfied. So there's still a lot of discussions left to happen. I'm getting feedback, not just every day, but almost every hour from residents. So a lot to take in before we end up making a decision on Tuesday.
We're joined by Luke Lando, Hazel Park City Council member on the Michigan Megacast. And this past February, Hazel Park officially banned conversion therapy for minors in the city limits. It was in a unanimous vote, the entire city council voting in the affirmative to ban conversion therapy. Can you talk about the ordinance that was passed to ban this practice and why it was important for the city of Hazel Park to make this decision, whether or not that practice was being perpetrated in Hazel Park?
Absolutely. So that has its roots in the anti-discrimination ordinance that passed when I very first joined council. We passed an ordinance that effectively banned discrimination in public accommodations, housing, and employment on the basis of everything included in the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act, but also extended it to include the LGBTQ population, of which I'm part of. So after that, we really wanted to make sure that we were being equally inclusive to the LGBTQ community when it comes to conversion therapy. And for the listeners at home, conversion therapy is a medically discredited, dangerous practice that is basically pray the gay away or somehow undergo therapy so that you change your sexual orientation, which we all know is not a thing. So making sure that we are protecting particularly the youth of the community was extremely important. So, luckily it's not something that currently has a foothold in Hazel Park, but, there are organizations around where that is something that they're focused in or at least dabbling in. So it was important for us to say, not in our community. Hazel Park City Council is 40% LGBTQ, which is probably among the highest in the state, if not the highest. But also, we have a very, very vibrant, diverse community with a lot of varied interests, and making sure that we're being inclusive of all populations, especially our LGBTQ youth, was extremely important. And I'm extremely grateful that the City Council passed my ordinance.
We're joined by Luke Lando on the Michigan Megacast. He is a Hazel Park City Council member joining us on the program today. Luke, just a few more minutes before we'll say goodbye. At this moment in time, what are some other things that the City Council in Hazel Park may be working on that residents of Hazel Park or neighbors, visitors of the community may want to be keeping an eye on in the near future?
Yeah, it's April, so it's budget season. And, Hazel Park has done a lot with a little for an extremely long time. We have a very, very lean budget. And a lot of the reason for that is we have not recovered from the Great Recession. We took a bath with our property values between 2008 and 2010. And because we're hamstringed by the state through Headley and Prop A, we really haven't come close to getting back to that baseline of property tax capture. And property taxes are 40% of our budget. So we are extremely lean, but we're also trying to make sure that we're improving city services, improving construction, bringing people in to help, capture additional sales tax and property tax revenue. So look for that to be happening soon. We're going to be completing our road diet, hopefully this year. We've completed it between 8 and 9 mile, where we've gone from 4 lanes to 3, added in bike lanes, and we're hoping to do that between 9 and 10. That was a little bit on hold over the last year due to the coronavirus pandemic and just bad timing and logistics. But this year we're going to be able to do that. And that's going to really allow us to create a more vibrant downtown commercial corridor similar to adjacent communities like Ferndale. And we'll be able to push that traffic that uses John R. as a thoroughfare, where they're just driving through and not stopping in our community, over to DeQuinder on the east and over to Woodward on the west, so that we're really just making sure that we've got like a beautiful, vibrant, walkable downtown area that inspires businesses to come in and set up shop, and for the community to really enjoy the maximum potential of that area.
Luke, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Welcome. You can keep up to date on everything going on in Hazel Park by visiting the city's website at hazelpark.org. We'll take a break, and on the other side, we'll explore how one Michigan architect and his colleagues are taking historic, abandoned, and even sometimes blighted buildings and turning them into functional spaces that are helping people in the Detroit area. That's up next. This is the Michigan Megacast.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you did. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Michigan is is chock full of exceptional architecture, and the tradition is continuing across our state. One Michigan architecture firm is doing its part to create beautiful, artful buildings while also assisting nonprofits in the Great Lakes state. Joining us now is the owner of Fusco, Schaefer, and Pappas Incorporated, architects and planners, James Pappas. James, thank you for being with us today.
Good morning, Tyler. Thank you for having me on the program.
Appreciate having you on. So tell us first about your business, about Fusco, Schaefer, and Pappas Architects, and some of the different designs that you have been part of, or your company has been part of here in the state of Michigan.
Well, thank you. Our firm is located in Ferndale, Michigan, and we have a staff of 30 people. Then approximately half of our work is with nonprofit organizations throughout southeastern Michigan. Some of those include the Pope Francis, and we're working on a new Pope Francis Center in the city of Detroit. Other organizations include neighborhood service organizations, and we're working with them on a new shelter currently under construction in the city of Detroit as well. Other groups include Presbyterian Villages of Michigan. We are working with them on multiple projects throughout the state. And organizations like Lighthouse in Pontiac that provide services to homeless individuals as well as people in need. So we've, over the years, we've made a conscious effort to try to work with nonprofit organizations and assist them in their journey of helping people in need.
So where did that motivation, or where did that effort for your company start? Because I would think it's pretty unconventional for an architecture firm like yours to put that kind of work in for charities and nonprofits on top of regular clients that you're also supporting.
Well, when we work with these organizations, it's not on just a pro bono basis. There is funding for the project, so we do get paid to work on the majority of these projects, but it's still we've made that effort, like I said, over the years, purposely. I think it started really when I joined the firm many years ago with Jude Fusco, who was the founder of the firm, and he's been passed away now, but kind of instilled in me the importance of working with organizations like that, and it continued it to this day.
And so these organizations, they're typically on very fixed dollar amount for what they can put into projects such as this to improve their buildings, let alone to build new facilities entirely. How does that for a firm like yours to be able to put its plans into fruition, but also fit the vision of these different organizations? How are you able to balance that, knowing that some projects may go over budget, some projects may be under budget in any architecture or planning situation, but especially for nonprofits, knowing that they have very specific needs and typically there's not a whole lot of flexibility there?
That's very true. Going into these projects, we typically have a fixed budget, and there really is no additional resources that you can go back and secure additional funds. So it's important that we work very closely with these organizations. They have a vision that it's our responsibility to achieve that vision as best we can. But we're still locked into, budget, so that we need to develop our designs that fit the criteria of the budget as well as our vision. It's a balancing act that, that in any architectural project, there's always a budget, and you have to balance that with the vision of the client.
So we recently spoke with Aisha Murrell Ferguson from COTS Detroit, one of the many great charities and nonprofits in the state of Michigan, and you're actually working on a project with them at this time. Can you tell us about that project and the ways that your architecture firm is helping support the vision of this particular charity and nonprofit?
The COTS project was a unique project. It's located on Peterborough, just off of Woodward. It's a high-rise building that was in need of renovation, and utilizing tax credit dollars as well as historical tax credit and low-income tax credit and several other sources through the City of Detroit and other organizations. We were able to do a complete renovation on the building, maintain many of the historical elements. And currently, it was originally built as a hotel many years ago. And then we were able to renovate the building into an adaptive reuse to utilize it as supportive housing for individuals that were previously homeless.
We're joined by James Pappas, the CEO and owner of Fusco, Schaefer and Pappas Incorporated Architects and Planners, joining us on the Megacast. You also mentioned earlier you've been doing work on the Pope Francis Center as well. Can you tell us about that project and the ways that your business is helping to impact their facility?
Pope Francis is just a wonderful organization run by Father Tim McCabe, a unique and amazing individual that had a vision to create bridge housing for those homeless individuals in the city of Detroit that have fallen through the cracks and not been able to get any housing in any other manner. We've worked closely with his vision to create that concept design. And I can tell you, we are just about to start construction. We've had a groundbreaking, and we're finalizing all the steps for permitting and construction that is starting shortly. It's a wonderful organization.
So where, what is the process for these different projects when you're working with a nonprofit organization versus a more traditional sort of clientele, like a business or a developer? How does that approach happen differently when you're working with a charity or nonprofit versus another client?
Well, with the nonprofits, the funding sources are your typical client utilizes a conventional financing, through a bank or lending source. Where a nonprofit, there's really two options. They can utilize some type of government type funding, whether it be through the federal or state governments, and donations. The Pope Francis, for example, is being funded 100% by donations to the organization. So there's the process of collecting donations and simultaneously working through the design process to a point that the ownership team felt secure that they could actually start construction now with enough dollars in hand to safely move forward and not have any delays during the construction process.
So we've talked multiple times in our discussion so far about budgeting and how that fixed budget for these nonprofits and their projects is a big factor in the design and the execution of these building projects. So I would think that efficiency in the execution of those plans is important, but also in the designs themselves. Can you give us some insight on some of the designs that your company has done for these different nonprofits that's incorporated some sort of efficiency into that design that allows for multiple uses of one area versus another, or some flexibility for these nonprofits so that they can get as much use out of their facilities that they are working with you on as possible?
It's a good example of that is the Pope Francis Center. All of the spaces, for example, there's a dining space, but it's also designed in such a way that it can be used for gathering activities, group activities, and even outside community activities. There is a gymnasium as part of that design that is going to be utilized for the residents as well as for the community to use on certain times. And then that same space, when the weather is bad, can be used as an overflow shelter space. So that as we design these spaces, you're absolutely correct that we need to keep in mind that spaces need to be functional, multiple uses, and not so that they can be in use as much of the time as possible.
We're joined by James Pappas, the CEO and owner of Fusco, Schaefer and Pappas Incorporated Architects and Planners, joining us on the Megacast. Earlier this week, during Mayor Mike Duggan of Detroit's State of the City address, he recognized your architecture firm's projects, including the Friendship Meadows, University Meadows, Transfiguration Place, Brainerd Apartments, and Peterborough Arms. Can you talk about each of these projects and your work in the city of Detroit to help assist with their resurgence down there? Because Detroit was never gone. It's not coming back. It's resurging, and it's kind of reforming itself into the future.
Well, and there's a combination on these projects. Several of them were renovations of existing buildings, and that's an important piece of the resurgence in the city of Detroit. Some of these buildings were occupied but in need of substantial renovation. Others were unoccupied or in a state of disrepair and needed substantial. And some of them were new construction. But as you mentioned, all those, the Transfiguration one was a unique building. Maybe I just highlight that one a little bit in the city of Detroit. It was a former Catholic school that had been closed for a number of years, and we got involved with that project and converted it to residential units. And it just a unique space. Each classroom was converted to a complete one-bedroom apartment, and again, the target occupancy for that again is supportive housing. Again, targeting individuals that may have been previously homeless. So it's a win-win. You had a vacant school building that, you take any building, and if you leave it vacant, it gets into a state of disrepair. And by this conversion and adaptive reuse, and now we've got a viable living space for a number of people.
Yeah, and that's what's so great about a lot of these projects is it's taking that historical architecture of the city of Detroit without adulterating it or replacing it entirely. It's maintaining that architecture, that unique Detroit identity visually, while also providing great purpose to the city. And of course, those projects that are providing home spaces for living spaces for the homeless are a huge benefit to the city of Detroit, as they would be in any major city. We're joined by James Pompas, the owner of Fusco, Schaefer and Pompas Incorporated, architects and planners, joining us on the Megacast. And let's have you touch on that real briefly. The maintenance of that architectural identity of Detroit, and some of these buildings that you are going into, or that other architects and other firms are going into to redesign or to repurpose. Part of that, of course, a big part is the functionality. You want to make that a functional space for whatever purpose it's going to be used going forward. But like I said, Detroit has its own unique architectural identity. So how do you work to maintain that architectural identity while also bringing utility to these spaces for the future?
It's critical especially on buildings with historical significance, as you mentioned, that we make every effort and work closely with the project's historical consultant as well as the state SHPO office, so that the historical integrity of the building is maintained. Elements of the exterior facade, the window designs, as well as interior components. We're currently starting work on a project called Lee Plaza. And the exterior historical significance as well as the interior. It's just a grandiose building that the ultimate goal here is to restore it back to its original historical elements and historical beauty.
James, any more interesting projects coming up with your firm that we should be on the lookout for in the near future?
Well, the one I just mentioned, the Lee Plaza, I believe the mayor did mention that project, and it's one we're just getting into the design phase on. It sits right on the boulevard, and it's very visible it's on West Grand Boulevard near Grand River, and very visible because it's one of the few high rises in that area. So keep an eye open for that one, and as the renovation starts, you'll see one of Detroit's gems brought back to life.
James, thank you so much for joining us and talking about these great projects that you're working on and some more designs we will be seeing in the very near future.
Thank you so much, Tyler.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is a source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
is struggling right now.
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
We've talked to many Share Detroit charities and nonprofits over the past year or so, and now Share Detroit is doing its part to help the good people of Ukraine as they battle on their home front against the invasion by Russia. With us now is the Share Detroit co-founder, Sam Rosenberg, who's also the founder of Share Ukraine. Sam, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So let's first talk about Share Detroit and its history. You're the co-founder of Share Detroit. Can you tell us about the process of you co-founding that organization and kind of the motivation behind founding Share Detroit?
A friend of mine, Paul Vlasic, invested into the actual platform, the technology behind the Share Good platform. And I got involved about 3 years ago in trying to bring it into Detroit specifically. In order to create a community engagement platform and a system behind it to help Detroit charities or the charities in Detroit metro area that primarily focus on helping Detroit communities do good. Sort of like a dating site for organizations that do good and people who want to help them. We try to match people based on their value system, based on their preferences, passions, and things of that nature, so they can find the organization that closest meets their personalities and their life's preferences.
More information on sharedetroit.org, where you can learn more about the 283 charities and nonprofits supported by Share Detroit at this time. We're joined by co-founder of Share Detroit, Sam Rosenberg, who's also the founder of Share Ukraine as well. So what led to the launch of Share Ukraine? Obviously, it's as a result of the ongoing war in Ukraine, the Russian invasion of the country, and the need that they have over there for support. But why this website? Why now? And how does it help aid those in Ukraine?
Well, I am a Ukrainian Jew. I was, in fact, if I should have worn my T-shirt that says I may live in America, but I was made in Ukraine. I immigrated to the United States in 1978 when I was 13-year-old, young teenager. America is my home. I served 20 plus years in the U.S. military. When I got out of the military, I tried to do what I can to help the community that I'm a member of, and Share Good came out of that. I saw the writing on the wall, so to speak, since 2014, when Putin took over Crimea. And but honestly saying, never took it too seriously. Obviously, February 24th was a watershed moment for me and for the entire world, for me probably more personally. So I tried to figure out what I can do immediately to help the cause of justice, the cause of democracy. It just happens to be taking place in Ukraine. And I tried to figure out how I can leverage what I've already done, which is the Share Detroit platform, to do the same thing and bring in all kinds of organizations that are trying to help and kinds of folks that are looking for a way to help. And we created another nonprofit, practically speaking, called Share Ukraine. We created .org. We registered the domain name, linked the two together, and now I'm promoting both Share Ukraine.org and all the organizations that we're linking within that platform. As a result of that, actually a lot of nonprofits that are already on the platform reached out to us and asking what they can do. Unfortunately, besides raising funds and collecting goods that can be used in Ukraine for first aid and medical supplies and things of that nature, and help the humanitarian effort with the refugees, there isn't a lot that a lot of our local nonprofits can do now. But the reconstruction will come. Ukraine will defeat the enemy. It just may take a long time, and the reconstruction is going to be very complex, very long, and very expensive. And this is the time that I'm looking forward to actually working with the local nonprofits as well as all the national and international NGOs, and hopefully doing the same thing that we're doing for Detroit Metro, having Ukraine as the focus of help and a focus of nonprofit and social work going forward.
We're joined by Sam Rosenberg, who is the founder of Share Ukraine, the co-founder of Share Detroit, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on sharedetroit.org, where you can also research under their charities and nonprofits listings for Share Ukraine, or type in shareukraine.org, which will redirect you to the Share Ukraine page on Share Detroit's website. And so on that website, what are some of the resources that people will find on the Share Ukraine website that will be able to lead them to providing aid, providing help to those in Ukraine who are in such great need of it right now as they battle Russia?
The primary, in Detroit metro area, the main organization that collects resources for Ukraine, as well as puts together events, is Ukrainian American Crisis Response Team, and they're prominent, linked in Share Ukraine. And they actually have their own, I think they have their own charity, right, as a separate charity within Share Ukraine. There's also Razom, R-A-Z-O-M, for Ukraine, all one word, .org, which is a national nonprofit that also got started up, I believe, in 2014. That collects, it's a national organization Razom stands for Together in Ukrainian. And it brings resources to help Ukraine both through education, humanitarian aid, political action, and so on and so on. Those are the two organizations that we feature prominently. There are others on the platform. And there's also, if some people that really don't have a lot of energy or time or understanding of the situation, and they just want to simply donate and help, I collect money and I provide accountability for 100% of the dollars that Share Ukraine collects directly through Share Detroit. It's a nonprofit 501c3. And every week I select an NGO on the ground in Ukraine that we donate the money collected for that period to The portal actually provides that information. Last week we collected a little over $12,000, and it's going to go to ComeBackAlive.ua, which is the organization that provides humanitarian aid and as well as the field first aid for the combatants in the zone. The next one is going to be helpukraine.org. These organizations are nominated and vetted by the people on the ground in Ukraine. I have friends and relatives still in the area, and we communicate with them daily. And trying to do everything we possibly can between our communities to help.
So, as you mentioned, Sam, you are Ukrainian. You have friends and relatives in Ukraine who are still there at this moment in time as they fight off this Russian invasion. It's been ongoing for several weeks now at this point. And so how does that help to inform your communications with them? How does that help to inform your actions as the founder of Share Ukraine and the person that's, as you said, responsible for where each of these dollars ultimately are going to these NGOs and to these other organizations that are providing aid? How does that communication with those who are on the front lines in Ukraine help to inform you of where those dollars are going to go week to week, month to month as you're running this organization?
Both organizations so far, like I said, a week ago, we started, a little over 10 days ago, we started collecting the money. And my primarily means of communicating the need is through, I started a personal newsletter, I guess, if you want to call it, or a rant. I started it with just my Outlook distribution list of about 1,500 people. And that in itself brought $12,000. And I'm going to continue doing this weekly with a different theme. And those themes that I'm communicating, and they're somewhat reflected with press releases and the contents on the shareukraine.org, are much influenced by the people on the ground. So what's important to them? You know, how do they see the Western support so far? In terms of specifically trying to measure the value of those organizations, the organizational websites which are receiving the funds, they're actually posted, and you can go and check them out. Their accountability is really very well detailed. There's spreadsheets right on the website, tells exactly what kind of items that were acquired for how much. And I checked the information yesterday, and it was as current as the 9th of March, which for real-time reporting is about as good as it gets. I haven't seen almost any other organization that provides reporting within 4 or 5 days of the actual activity. And plus, frankly saying, my friend, who is a retired general in the Ukrainian army, now is coordinating activities of the territorial defense forces. He's got a whole network of people on the ground that are doing the work. So my ask of them is really simple. Go ask the guy who's putting a bandage on somebody's arm what organization he's working for, and then we look to see if this is a legitimate NGO, if it's got some kind of a tax standing within the Ukrainian or European community, and that's about the extent of vetting. We'll look at their financials, we'll look at their past reporting, and I just ask the people on the ground, they're helping, and they're helping, they get the funds. There are other ways of helping, and I'm not discouraging anyone, but if you want it quick and simple and you just want to help, this is a way. Many organizations do well.
Yeah, or if you just want a resource to go to find trusted help that is going to be on the front lines in Ukraine, or is going to be helping those in Ukraine without having to do that research necessarily yourself, and maybe run into some of these people that have been taking advantage of the crisis that's occurring over there in Eastern Europe. We just spoke recently with Melanie Ducanel from the Michigan Better Business Bureau about some of these charity scams that are popping up, that always pop up when there's something that when there's an issue domestically or certainly internationally that people want to help others with. And so having a resource like this, shareukraine.org, where you can learn more information about these organizations that have already been vetted, that are helping people directly on the front lines, that those on the front lines have reported to your organization as being those that are helping, and then you do research on them. It's so much helpful information for people here in the U.S., here in Michigan, who want to help those in Ukraine. We're joined by Sam Rosenberg. He is the founder of Share Ukraine, the co-founder of Share Detroit You can learn more information on shareukraine.org or sharedetroit.org and just search Share Ukraine under their 283 charities and nonprofits that they're currently supporting. There are also some events also listed on that website that you can participate in that will also be benefiting those in Ukraine. And so, Sam, as you continue to talk to those friends and family of yours who are in Ukraine and their interpretation of the quality of response from their friends and neighbors here in the West, what is the greatest need that they have at this moment in time in terms of support that they need from those that are willing to give it here in the U.S. and here in Michigan?
I mean, the most common thing that they're asking for, honestly saying, is something that we're not willing to do, which is provide a no-fly zone above Ukraine. This is something that we're not willing to do, and I'm not trying to make any political statements, but they certainly appreciate all the humanitarian aid and all the work that we have done. I mean, there's flights and flights and flights of medical equipment and first aid equipment and medicine and so on and so on and so on. And certainly the humanitarian work that people in Poland and Romania and Moldova and all the surrounding countries are doing is not just greatly appreciated. Everyone is amazed in Ukraine. So it's a fine balancing act between being grateful and asking for more. But when it's a David and Goliath thing, it's they got to do what they got to do. And one thing I wanted to add is that the long-term plan for shareukraine.org, because the people that are supporting us, ethnic Eastern European folks, we're very skeptical of large nonprofits and so on and so on. So one of the things we will try to do, and we're already getting the resources to do it, is provide family to family, a person to person type of a matching relationship to where a family can adopt a family in Ukraine to help them with the reconstruction. I have not countless, but many friends in Ukraine who life just was destroyed. Their apartments, their living quarters, everything that they've built up and were hoping to save for their children disappeared. So there's going to be a tremendous amount of opportunity to help these folks one-on-one, family to family, without any kind of intermediaries, with administrative and marketing costs and all this other stuff. And really, that's what I want to do. I want to provide the most efficient mechanism where people can help and see the results of their help.
We're joined by Sam Rosenberg, the founder of Share Ukraine, the co-founder of Share Detroit. More information either on sharedetroit.org or go directly to their Share Ukraine page at shareukraine.org to learn more information about different organizations that you can provide donations to, about volunteer opportunities here in the local area, and events that will be benefiting those in Ukraine as they fight the Russians who have been invading their country for many weeks now. Sam, just another couple of minutes before we'll need to say goodbye. Anything else at this time that would be important for our audience to know about Share Ukraine or ways that they can help?
Important not, but I can make a plea. We living in the West have very short memories when it comes to these type of conflicts, unfortunately. I personally believe this is 1936 all over again. And if we thought about it, what could we have done in 1936 if we knew what's going to happen? Certainly, it's not just a theatrical statement. We don't know what's going to happen, but it certainly looks, feels, and feels similarly to that. I hope that this is not another World War II, i.e. World War III. I hope we won't have another Holocaust, but it's certainly looking as we would. It just happens to be not for Jews, but for Ukrainians. It doesn't matter who the people are. People are people, and we should value all life equally. I just ask that we never forget what's happening today. So if you have a chance, influence your local officials, try to change some street names, park names to reflect the city names that are probably no longer in existence today, whether it's Kharkiv, whether it's Kherson or Sochi or whatever that may be I apologize about Sochi. Sochi is in Russia. This way our kids, when they look at this funny park named Kherson, and they're going to say, Mom, what the heck is Kherson? And you can explain to your kids there was a war, the city was destroyed, occupied by the Russians, and this will live in our memories, not because we want to remember the negative things, it's because we don't want these things to repeat. We could have put an end to it in 2014, now we live with the consequences. That's what I wanted to appeal to people with.
Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your listeners. To your listeners.
Appreciate having you on.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
211, how can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. That is going to do it for today's edition of both the Michigan and Oakland County Megacast. You can learn more information about the program, including everywhere that we broadcast live and live to tape. Find today's full program as well as each individual interview on demand as well at civiccentertv.com/megacast. Also highly encourage you to go to our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Keep up to date on everything you need to know about COVID-19 from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention at the federal level, at the state level from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and locally from the Oakland County Health Division. In addition, on our coronavirus page, we feature journalistic articles from across the state of Michigan every day to keep you up to date on the top headlines, making stories across the Great Lakes states. You can stay up to date on COVID-19 and all other things that are also making news all across the state of Michigan each and every day that we broadcast live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon here on our variety of stations. Big thank you as well to our crew that make this program possible every day, Monday through Friday. We broadcast live. Calvin Brown, our studio producer, our technical director, with me in the studio each and every day for the full 2-hour program. Larry Nyland, the king of television, our producer, getting all the guests booked for the program and helping them and us both get ready for each and every Megacast. Jared Clark out at the office of My Michigan TV in Troy, our Zoom producer, and of course Maddie Mushkin out at Master Control, helping us both on and off the air before and after each and every one of our Megacast broadcasts. That is it for today's edition of the program on My Michigan TV. Steve Lado Live is next. We'll return Thursday morning at 10 a.m.